Yo, what is up, ROC Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the one and only ROC Exclusive with your boy,
Ryan R. Gas.
And yours truly, Mr. Real Mike Bell. Guys, such an honor to have you back. We love what you guys do. We love coming out every week and putting out new content for you guys. I mean, without you, there is no us. So thank you for choosing to contribute to the show. Help be a supporting founding member, or ROC follower, whatever it is that led you here. We thank you. And you know what? We're just going to keep killing it, brother. How you doing, Ryan?
Good, man. Good. I'm definitely in the mood to talk about what we got going on today.
Oh, man. You know, Ryan's going to beat me up with this one today, guys. Like, this is a very touchy subject to me. And I think it is to him as well, too. And I think you're going to enjoy the spin that Ryan tries to put on stuff here. But, guys, today we're talking about mental health and this concept of a mental health stigma. And you know, we just recently, you know, the mental health thing in the country is crazy, guys. I did a whole other show, 14 episodes of nothing but mental health stuff. And it's something that's very close to me. You know, we just recently did over on the free show, we did the Sarah Jones show about the red flag laws, you know, and red flag is very much related to mental health. Mm-hmm. We did, I'm not sure if it's out yet or not, or it's coming out soon. We did an episode with Annie.
Yeah.
And that, you know, yet. She's talking about the trauma that her kids are having to go through and this mental health and mental health is one of those things, guys, that we want you to get help for. And if we were struggling with stuff, we would seek help. You know, I've personally been in rooms, honest, you know, vulnerable rooms talking with men about other mental health shit. And guys, it's therapeutic. But what happens when you tell somebody, when you tell a medical professional, hey, I need help? Like, what are the downstream consequences of that? What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I saw it this week. So I'll go ahead and get into it. So as many of y'all know, I do firearms training. I help people access their rights in Maryland that have been stolen from them, and they've got to go through a process of jumping through hoops and paying money in order to access these rights, such as buying a handgun or even carrying one. And so I recently had this individual who took our class, and they're applying for their Maryland handgun permit to carry. And in the application process, there's always a pretty standard and straightforward interview. Nothing at all to be nervous about, nothing crazy at all. But they will give you a shovel, just don't dig yourself a grave, right? This person emailed me this past week and had this to say, all right? And I'm reading. I had an interview with the state police, and an issue came up. I take an antidepressant because I've had both breast and lung cancer. She asked me to get a letter from my doctor, but because of the liability purposes, the doctor, she won't do it. Do you know what is an automatic denier or what my recourse will be? So long story short, it's not, to what extent, I don't know, but, you know, at times people, they seek help and one of the solutions that is given to them is antidepressant pills. I'm not sure exactly about this person's situation, but I guess her depression was related to the fact that she had breast and lung cancer. She tries to go to her doctor to get a note saying, hey, you know, nothing, you know, more or less the doctor's not recommending this person to own a handgun or to carry one. They're just simply providing a simple statement. And the guidance from the Maryland State Police, because this happened in Maryland, the guidance from the Maryland State Police and what they want to see is a letter. Let me find the verbiage so I don't mess it up. They want to get a letter from your physician, and the certification must include the following statement verbatim.
Yeah, and pay attention to that word, guys. Verbatim.
Yeah,
They
put it in uppercase, all uppercase letters, underlined verbatim,
and no squiggly lines.
Yep.
No maybe it should contain this language. It's verbatim.
So this the statement should include this verbatim. Your name, all right, so say Ryan Gass or whoever the person's name is, all right, so just say Bobby McGee, all right. Bobby McGee has Bobby McGee has been successfully treated, or he or she is continuing to be treated without incident. That's all that was needed of that doctor to do. is simply say that Bobby McGee has been successfully treated, or he or she is continuing to be treated without the incident. All right. That's not saying I, Dr. Doolittle, want so-and-so to own a handgun, or I want them to be able to carry a handgun. It's not an endorsement. It's not a recommendation. It's a simple statement. Has Bobby McGee been treated successfully? Yes. And if not, is that person continuing their treatment, and has there been no incident? That's all that was needed. And the doctor refused to do that. I don't know who this doctor is. I'm not sure the situation details, because details do matter. But this type of situation has put it so that this person and their access to their civil rights, to their constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, it's now been blockaded by a doctor. If they don't get this letter from the doctor, the Maryland State Police will not allow this person to access their civil and constitutional rights. And that's a problem. And that's why so many people, including myself, do not want to give doctors or other people like that the ability to further put their political views in front of serving their client as they should. I mean, maybe, I don't know this, but, maybe Bobby McGee hasn't been successfully treated and is not continuing to be treated without incident. Maybe that's why the doctor won't do that. But that information wasn't provided. They said, there's no issue as far as they knew, nothing like that. And the doctor would not do it because they perceived it to be some type of liability. And that's another thing. You can think about it this way. Having this legislation put in place and having the Maryland State Police put the doctor in this position, it puts that doctor in a weird place too. So it's not all the blame goes on the doctor.
Well, it's not the doctor's freaking swim lane, right? And Ryan, I get you are a very strong proponent of every person's individual liberty to be able to protect themselves at any level of escalation. And one of those levels of escalation is the possession under our Second Amendment right to own and bear firearms. I get that. It's not the doctor's job to influence the results of that by using his own party or identity politics to say, I don't like guns, so therefore I'm not going to sign your paper for you. And that's what I think what you're getting at here is you got to be very careful if you're looking for a doctor's note to get a firearm. You don't need to tell the doctor that's what you're trying to do. You just need to get a doctor's note. Verbatim that says this language.
Well, at the same time, too, this is part of the reason why some people don't seek help. Because they know that they might be put in this type of position where they have to have a doctor to be able to do this based on either current legislation or legislation that they're trying to get passed. Nobody wants to be put in this position, so it's either seek help and get put in a position or don't and just deal with it on your own.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know this exists, Ryan. What happens if, let me paint a picture for you, all right? You're a 15-year-old kid. You're hyper-bullied in school. You don't feel comfortable talking to your mom or dad. Right. Next thing you know, you start cutting yourself like a lot of kids, some kids do. Right. And next thing you know, they're, mom and dad being uber protective or maybe in the right here. They take you to see a mental psychologist or something like that. And you begin treatment and maybe you have to spend a week in a facility to just get away from mom and dad and get your bearing and stuff like that. That right there will prohibit you. Something you made, some decision that your parents made for you as a child in some states will prevent you from ever being able to own a firearm. And for instance, federal law under 18 United States Code 922D, it is unlawful for any person to sell or otherwise dispose of any firearm or ammunition to any person knowing or having reasonable cause to believe that such person has been adjudicated as a mental defective or has been committed to any mental institution.
And that's voluntary or involuntary too.
That's right. So now I'm 15 years old, whatever. I live my life. My parents send me off to some, mental institution or whatever. I become an adult. Next thing you know, I'm 21 years old in the state of Maryland. I'm able to go out and purchase a firearm. Now I want to conceal carry. I go and I file for the paperwork. They say, oh, you need a doctor's note first, right? Sorry, buddy, you've been convicted or convicted in the eyes of society, if you will, adjudicated against. And you can go to this website, Ryan. I'm sure you've been here. It's the National Conference of State Legislators, NCSL.org, and you can find the possession of firearms by people with mental illness each state legislation against that for all 50 states. Now, in some of these are freaking crazy, like California is multiple paragraphs here. But one is interesting here in Connecticut. If you have ever been confined prior to October 1st, 2013 in a hospital for persons with psychiatric disabilities or defined in their section within the preceding 60 months by order of probate court, you can never own a firearm, right? You'll never be able to exercise your Second Amendment right. Now, there are blurry lines there, right? Like if I'm stressed out and I go see a doctor for Xanax or something like that, am I allowed at that point to own a firearm? I don't know. Am I allowed to be in the possession of a firearm while on medication? I don't know. And you recently posted something that I thought was pretty cool, and maybe it ties into this. And guys, I understand we're kind of going in a bunch of different directions here, but what if I go and I seek help? What if I'm discharged from the military, Ryan, and I have PTSD? All right. And I start going to the veterans, to the VA, and they say, hey, we're going to put you in like this 28-day program to get your mind right. And when you come out of that, you're on prescription antidepressants or antipsychotics, right? For PTSD. You're never allowed to own a firearm. You know what I'm saying? You at that point have been admitted to a psychiatric facility for mental illness. Now, what do you think, Ryan? Does that seem fair? Does it seem like,
and that's why
I don't know, man.
And that's why a lot of people, again, that's why a lot of people don't seek help. You want to, if you want people to seek help, don't give them reasons not to. Don't say, yeah, you should really seek help, man. I think, help could really, do you a lot of good. Oh, but if you do, just know that we're going to take your guns away. Just know that we're going to make sure you can never buy a gun again.
Right.
Now you got to ponder that. What's the cost benefit ratio? And a lot of people say, you know what? I'm not going to risk it because I don't want to lose my rights. I don't want to possibly lose my job. Because I talked to a lot of law enforcement where they may want to, seek help, but if they do, not only will they take their guns away, they'll literally take their job away.
Right.
Seriously.
No, I understand that, and it's crazy. And as I was mentioning, maybe we're not the 15-year-old kid that got kind of admitted against our own will. But what if? Check this out, Ryan. Let me paint a very dirty picture for you, okay? You're a 22, 23-year-old female living in the city, and you get raped, right? Of course, you don't own a firearm at this point in time. You're just a female living in the city. Maybe you're a male. Maybe you're trans, something, whatever. You get raped, and you can't cope with that. So, you become very depressed, anxiety, PTSD, all this other crap. And you end up putting yourself into an infirmary or whatever for the mentally ill to kind of get your mind right. When you come out, right, now you start thinking, well, I'm never going to be a victim again. I'm going to go ahead and try to get a firearm. What do you think is going to happen then, Ryan?
Not happening.
No, it's not happening because now that you're a rape victim, you can't own a firearm because you're also mentally ill, right? Or you've been treated. And the only way to do it at that point is to do as Ryan was saying. Some states, all right, some places, and as we just mentioned, there's like a time delta there. Like you couldn't have been released from a mental institution within so long. And then this is where it gets crazy is like, what is defined as a mental institution? What is the definition? And that the absence of a definition enables the adjudicators to be able to come up with their own definition, right? It's like, what's the saying in Maryland to conceal carry?
Good and substantial reason.
Good and substantial reason. Who the hell decides that? And it's the same thing with the freaking, mentally unwell, right? Okay, yeah, they've been out of a facility for X amount of time. Do they have good and substantial reason? I don't know. Maybe we should go ask a doctor. And then you go to your doctor. You say, doctor, I need you to write this up verbatim so I could go and exercise my Second Amendment right. And now you got freaking lefty, freaking McGillicuddy there in the doctor's office. He ain't signing that crap, especially in a time like now, right? With the freaking shootings that are going on. It's like, this is one of those situations where that if there were no guns, this wouldn't be a problem, right? If there were no guns, people wouldn't have to worry about not being able to get one, So and is that what the legislator is trying for? Are they trying to make it so very difficult for people to own guns that they just start for instance, like this? Is this another case like that, or like, I don't know, man.
It's very, like I said, it's not even, it's a little bit everyone's fault, but it's not just on the doctor. It's not just on the Maryland State Police. It's honestly, the root of the problem started with the politicians who thought that this was a great idea to restrict people's rights and to, give out, oh, you have to have a license to do this. You have to have a license to exercise this right. In order to get that license, you have to go through all these damn hoops. You have to pay all this damn money. You have to get this person who may not even agree with what you're doing. You have to get them to, theoretically endorse it and stuff, even though it's not what they're asking and stuff, but that's what it's being perceived by that doctor. And you can't tell that doctor any different. You think that anybody can go to that doctor and say, no, you won't be liable. Just go ahead and do it for the person. That's not gonna, if anything, it's gonna concrete that doctor in their belief that, no, this is gonna be, keep me liable, whether criminally or civilly or otherwise. So honestly, the problem is just never ending.
So you're opening up a can of worms here, Ryan, that I'm not sure if you were prepared for here. Okay. So let me ask you this. How do we keep firearms out of the hands of the mentally unwell?
You don't.
How?
You don't. You do not. You can't.
So we should constantly be walking around with the assumption that there are crazy people out there with guns.
Yeah. Because again,
how the hell does that make a safer America?
If anything, this is going to increase it because now no one's going to be seeking help, or a lot less people are going to be seeking help because their guns are going to be taken away. Before, if this was not a thing, then people would have maybe been more likely to actually go out and get help because what do they have to lose? They have
not everybody knows that if you've ever been to an asylum or you've ever been treated for mental illness that you can't own a firearm.
Well, most people that hold the ownership and value of having a firearm, most people that of that mindset know that that's a risk.
Yeah, some people do. I mean, you're making an assumption that most people do. I would argue that some people do, right? I don't know if that's a majority or not. But we look at what's happened, guys, and at the date of recording this, and this will probably come out pretty soon, but the date of recording this, I mean, we're a few days away from what happened out in Colorado. There was the freaking whack job out in Florida that shot up all the freaking massage parlors.
Colorado has everything that the left has asked for. They have universal background checks. They have red flag gun seizures. They have high capacity magazine bans, and they are passing more gun control. They actually have a passing grade from was it not Kathy Giffords? What's that Gifford lady? Used to be
from Arizona.
Yeah, what was her name? Well,
Giffords, right?
Something. But anyway, from her organization has given Colorado a passing grade when it comes to how restrictive they've been with gun control. Colorado is a leftist paradise when it comes to gun control, and yet it didn't stop that terrorist from going in there and shooting up all the Americans in that grocery store. What was it? A Syrian Muslim, right?
Yeah, Gabby Giffords was her name.
Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby. She's from Arizona. She got shot up in Tucson. I remember when that happened. But dude, all right, so this is where I can't wrap my head around all the freaking now. Ryan, I know that you're a very avid Second Amendment supporter, but there are other Second Amendment supporters that are freaking whack jobs, right? They will go to extents that sometimes don't seem reasonable, and it's like they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, right? They'll say, oh, it's not the gun's fault, it's the guy's fault. It's him, right? They'll say that in one hand, and then they'll say, oh, we need to treat mental illness. It's not a firearm problem, it's a mental illness problem. Well, how do we treat the mental illness problem when people are just going to lie about it and so that they can go out and procure firearms, right? Yeah. It's like you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth without ever coming up with a solution. So either every freaking whack job out on the streets right now is you need to assume that they have a firearm because there's no checks and balances that can stop them from getting one, or we need to cancel we need to find a way to prevent mentally unwell people from owning a firearm. And if you're saying there's no way to do that, then we're at a loss.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we address, so let's pivot here, right? How do we address the mental illness problem in America?
By giving them an incentive to actually seek help rather than give them reasons not to seek help. This policy is giving them reason not to seek help. Take away that stigma. Take away that bad. Honestly, I don't understand how that's so difficult to think. I mean, we currently have it so that, if you access help and you seek help, or you're forced to, so we're talking about involuntarily or voluntarily, if you do seek help, you're fucked. You lose your rights. That's not a good incentive to give somebody. Like, you should go seek help and get fucked and lose all your rights. Oh, you're a cop? Oh, you'll definitely lose your job too. You should definitely get help.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, because clearly, all right, clearly you have to be in a freaking crazy headspace to want to take a gun and go kill a bunch of people, right? You're mentally unwell. So how do we, this ties so many things together. So we were talking recently about red flag gun laws.
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm Ryan's neighbor. I see Ryan acting freaking crazy, right? Like,
Define crazy.
I see him acting, or through conversations, I'm assuming that he's mentally unwell. All right.
People,
so now it's
some people might listen to this conversation and say I'm mentally unwell because of this.
I'm not saying Ryan
No,
Gas,
I'm
I'm saying
saying
my neighbor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whoever, but okay, so what's my chance of recourse? What are my options as in a civic society to try to protect the herd? Well, I got to call the authorities and say, hey, there's a likelihood that this guy could be a potential danger to himself or others, right? And
What
the
leads you to
only
believe
thing,
that?
Ryan, you can't just keep throwing questions at me like I have all the freaking answers. What I'm saying is, how are we, if we can't keep guns out of crazy people's hands, then we need to fix the crazy. How do we identify the crazy? And all you keep saying is, well, you can't identify the crazy because then no one's going to admit that they're crazy because they all want to own guns. And then they're all crazy, they all want to own guns, and people are going to keep getting shot up. Like, where in there is your freaking Second Amendment mind identifying a problem and saying, Mike, this right here is how we could fix it? It's not on me, because my assumption is this: much more training to own a firearm. If I'm going to treat a gun license like I treat an automobile license. You need to pay to get it, right? Because now you have an incentive to get it, right? It's not just going to be there willy-nilly for everybody. And then every X amount of years, you need to repeat training and relicense yourself.
So I just want to make sure, because that's a big thing in Maryland. So there's a fee, and you stated it's to dissuade people from exercising that right, because we can't just have everybody exercising their rights, right? Is that
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that it needs to be, you need to make a deliberate action in order to exercise your right. I don't think, and that's all right. Check this out, man.
putting a gun on my hip and walking around without having paid any dues and stuff? That's pretty deliberate still. Why should I have to pay money just to be able to do that? It's pretty deliberate.
ROC Nation, you all know, and so does Ryan, you're much more adequately prepared to have this conversation than I am.
Yeah.
This is your industry, brother.
Yeah.
What I'm saying as a civilian, right, that is also in support of the Constitution. You know, I carried a freaking firearm on me for months at a time when I was in the military. Like, I know how to practice discipline with the firearm.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if anybody off the street at 18 years old, or in Maryland, 21 years old, can go down to the gun shop, get themselves a freaking, 9mm Glock 40, doesn't matter, whatever, strap it to their hip, start walking around like they're Johnny Badass, which there are those people, you know them, you've seen them in your class, right? Then society is not going to be safer, in my mind.
Is it going to be less safe?
I would say that there's a potential for it to be less safe.
Well, there's a potential that person can get in their car and make the roads less safe too.
You're right. That's why they have to have a license.
They're supposed to have a license. You don't have to have a license to drive on the roads, especially if you're not from Maryland.
Man, you're talking in circles. You're talking in circles, dude.
You don't have to have a driver's license in Maryland to drive on Maryland roadways if you're an illegal immigrant.
You're just talking in circles, man. Like, there's got to be a pathway to ensure that whoever is on the other side of that firearm is qualified to be using it.
How did our ancestors and their children and offspring survive in order to have society today?
More people own firearms, right? You used to be able to be taught how to shoot in elementary school.
And I think that's a great idea too.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe, okay, Ryan, finally you've came up with the solution.
Yeah.
All right. You just keep throwing it back in my face because you've done all the research and you have all the talking points.
But that doesn't
and you can repeat the talking points verbatim. But you finally told me a solution here.
Wait, but that solution to what? Because that doesn't.
So we're introducing our population to firearms at a much younger age so that they are more comfortable, more adequately prepared to operate and be around firearms.
Just
right?
a solution
Because we've removed the stigma from firearms.
But how do we remove this stigma from seeking help for mental health problems? Maybe removing the penalties.
Or maybe we start talking about mental health when kids are a lot younger, and we start enforcing the fact that just because you're different doesn't mean that you're wrong. Or just because there's this whole craze right now, guys, and Ryan and I have both came out and said, we do not care how you identify. Just don't push your agenda on us, right?
Yeah.
So now you're this, little kid, 10, 12 years old, whatever. You're a boy with the penis, but you think you're a girl, and you're scared to talk about it because there's this whole stigma about it. Next thing you know, you're mentally unwell. You can't talk about that. Next thing you know, you got a gun. You go kill all these frickers, all these motherfuckers who were talking shit to you your whole life, right? Because society, we're such a dominating presence. The United States are. Like, you look at your kids, they make fun of each other. You make fun of your buddies. It's all about talking shit to each other, right? Our society, our presence alone deters people from seeking help because there is a fear to show vulnerability in this country. That is very much a part of the mental health stigma in this country, especially among men, right? You can't be a badass and freaking take Xanax and let people know about it. You can't be a badass
unless you're a rapper
and cry at night. You know what I'm saying? You can't. And there's way too many things here. There's so many different interconnectivities here, right? Besides just, oh, well, shit, you're entitled to a gun because you were born in the United States. It's okay.
Actually, you don't have to be born in the United States or even be a United States citizen.
Fuck, Ryan. You get what I'm saying, all right? Like, this is the only country in the world that does that, by the way, all right? In a very global society, the United States is the only country.
It is the freest country in the world.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself. You keep telling yourself that.
People flock from other countries just to come here.
The only freedom in this country is the free shit that the government gives people that aren't paying into the system. That's the only thing free, right? I think who was it? Somebody posted on Facebook the other day, is like, name something you can do for free. And I think the only answer was you could pick your nose for free, right? Like that's about it, right? You might be able to, I don't know, pleasure yourself or something. Like there's some things, but whatever.
I paid a doctor last week or 2 weeks ago to really pick my nose really deep. So,
but it's people say free nation, whatever, man. And there are
freest though.
Yeah. I would argue that we are one of the most prosperous free countries on the planet. That's why I choose to stay here. You know what I mean? I'm a man of enough means to be able to take my family and move anywhere I want to, and my profession would allow me to work remotely from anywhere on the planet. I choose to stay in the United States. I love it here. I'm a patriot. But we started this conversation about mental health and and trying to own a firearm in the state of Maryland if you don't have a mental health issue. And what Ryan pretty much said is like, look, if you got a mental health issue, you need to lie to your doctor and well, not lie. You know what I mean? You need to structure the conversation such that that doctor's not going to write anything on that paper that could dissuade the Maryland State Police from giving you a firearm or giving you permission to conceal carry. Right. But the problem's so much bigger. I mean, you go back and it's not, guys, it's not just white guys out there with mental health issues that are killing people, right? A lot of people are killing each other. A lot of people are killing each other with guns. We've had several episodes about this, right? If we remove firearms, we would save, we hypothesized this on one of the previous episodes. If we remove firearms from society, a very conservative estimate is that we would prevent 20,000 people a year from being murdered from firearms.
Murdered or killed?
Killed. And no, because we took out the suicides. That's 20,000 murders that were due to firearms that we could likely, and that was a conservative value.
I think we need to take a better look at those numbers. I know
we looked at the numbers during the episode. I can pull them back up.
The FBI Uniform Code, stats from 2018, I believe, rifles as a whole, all rifles, whether it's bolt action or AR or whatever it might be, they were just under 300 deaths in 2018, I believe it was. Knives, they killed twice as many people as rifles altogether in that year.
All right, so we should outlaw oxygen too, because every single person on the planet dies from breathing.
Exactly.
You can't just use that shit. You can't say, everybody's dying from knives. Everyone's dying from guns. Everyone's drowning.
It is about safety and taking the biggest measures to increase safety and stuff. Why not knives? Why not knives first and then go from
Why not spoons first and fix the fat problem?
Exactly. I'm saying
this is the common Second Amendment supporter talking point, Ryan. You're just repeating the same shit I can search on the Facebook and find, a million other people that agree with you. Tell me a solution, brother. How do we prevent shit like that happened in Colorado? Although it doesn't happen all the time, how do we prevent it? Right? You're telling me we can't fix the mental health problem. Why? Why can't we fix it? Right? Because you're telling me we can't fix the crazy people with the gun problem.
Well, again, one solution right there is take away the penalty for seeking help.
There is no penalty for seeking help.
This lady just found a penalty for seeking help. She sought help and got antidepressants because of related to her, I guess, depression related to breast and lung cancer. And now she's going through the loops of, oh shit, my doctor won't even sign my notes. So I
No,
can
but the doctor will. If you read the language, it says if the doctor says that you are on your way to successfully completing your treatment.
That's what it's supposed to be, but the doctor refused to do it because they had a perception of liability.
Sure. Now that is a situational issue where you are right. You should not disclose the reason for that letter to your doctor.
Yeah.
All right, just keep your fucking mouth shut about
That's
that.
what I told. That's why I put it in there and stuff. And that kind of gets us back to the.
But again,
articles.
it's not necessarily a penalty, and you got to
That's
look
a
at
penalty.
Yeah, but you got to look at the greater good, man. You got to look at the greater good for society. You know, we talked about this the other day with Annie. You know, her husband. We were talking about pedophilia. We're talking about a man that sexually molested children, right? And then we were saying, you know, we would rather paint with a broad brush and use capital punishment and kill all these people if they're found guilty of child, molestation, and accidentally kill a few innocent people to protect the victim.
Yeah.
So we're willing to do it in that situation, but we're not willing to address gun rights. We're not willing to address gun control. You told me before, Mike, you said, oh, well, what gun law did this guy break? You know, you say shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just a common fucking talking point.
So whether
Ryan.
it's me or whether it's someone else. So somebody that knows this lady, whether it's me or somebody else, somebody knows this lady, they hear her story and the problems that she's going through. All right. Tell me or tell that person why. All right. Let's just say I'm having problems and I think I'm considering seeking help. All right. Knowing what I know about what this lady's gone through, and I will have to go through it if I seek out any help. Tell me why I should seek out help, even without knowing what I'm going to go through. Tell me why I should seek help.
If you valued your health more than you valued your right to own a firearm, you would seek out help.
My firearm helps me preserve my health more so than I think seeking help.
You got to tell me how often, Ryan, you've told me before you drew your firearm on somebody before. I get that. I would want to argue, and you might have this number. How many people actually use their firearm in self-defense every year?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can find it, but I don't have it
I'm going to assume that number isn't like 100,000 people. I'm going to assume it's probably smaller.
It's much higher, actually.
You think so?
Yeah.
What, 500,000 people? 1 million people? You need to pull, if you can find the number.
I have to find the number.
All right, so you're less likely. I'll tell you this, Ryan.
Because just because you draw your gun doesn't mean you actually shoot.
I'm 38 years old and have never had to draw a firearm outside of the military on anybody in my entire life, right? Nobody I know directly, like my direct family, besides you, has had to do that.
Yeah.
And that's 20, 30, 40 people, dude.
Yeah.
So, if we just say 1 in 40, you're looking at, and I'm going to say it's probably maybe 1 in 100 people actually might have to draw their firearm, maybe even less than that. I don't have those numbers.
Yeah.
But if I was mentally unwell, the stigma in the United States isn't about the punishment of not being able to own a firearm. The stigma is that you will be ridiculed by your peer group if you come out and say, I'm not like everybody else, right?
Well,
there's something broken inside of me.
So you just pointed out a whole other reason.
I've been saying that reason the entire time,
well,
Ryan.
I'm saying, that's an additional reason why people won't seek help. It's an additional reason.
Yeah, we need to address the mental health stuff.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that the reason people don't seek out help is because they're fear of being penalized, right? And it's the owning a firearm thing should be the least of your concerns if you are mentally unwell. You should be seeking help, right? And then if it came to a situation, and I think that it should be addressed at a case-by-case situation, if you are seeking treatment, look, I don't want crazy people to own guns. Ryan, do you want crazy people to own guns?
No. Define crazy, though.
You know what kind of crazy I'm talking about. A crazy person who is at a position in their life where they are, something could trigger them to inflict harm upon other people. That's the definition of crazy I'm using here, okay? I don't want that person on a farm. I don't think you do either, all right? Say it. You just did. I mean, you said, yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. We don't want crazy people owning firearms, right? We want to protect them. Sometimes protecting them from themselves, right? And at least I do. I mean, you could go on record and say you don't, right?
Not always. Like we talk about the interview with Annie and stuff. Like I said, it might sound cold-hearted, but that mentally, whatever you want to call him and stuff.
Oh, he's definitely mentally fucked up.
Yeah.
If he's
honestly,
willing to sexually molest his own daughter, he's fucked up.
I wish he hadn't been able to. I wish he had done what was said. Go out in the front yard and just shoot your fucking self in the head. Like that's type. Sometimes nature reclaims its weakest links.
I don't want crazy people to be able to hurt other people or themselves, right? I don't. I'm much more left on that than you are, Ryan. Like I care about the entirety of our population, right? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you got it, like I said before, any Audi, black, white, polka dot, I don't care. Beep, bop, boop, whatever you want to call yourself, brother, sister, thee, they, them, whatever. Do you, boo boo? That's what Ryan says, right? I want to protect everybody the best way however that looks. And I hope that legislators want to do that same thing, right? At the root of most things, Ryan, there's good intentions. We've said that countless times, right? And every law that's out there.
What's that saying about good intentions? Paving roads?
A lot of people say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah. And it's true, right? But that's because you're setting unrealistic expectations and your intentions aren't founded on intent. That's a whole nother episode I can get into. I talked about that on some other stuff. But I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. But if, we were talking about this the other day. So there's only two kinds of people that shouldn't be allowed to own firearms, right? The people that are dead and the people that are walking the streets, right? Or actively incarcerated. Yeah. And I think that there's a third. I think that if you are mentally unstable, you shouldn't be allowed to own a firearm. Now you haven't been caught yet. Okay. Or what if you are a murderer on the loose? Well, you're not in prison yet. So in Ryan's book, you should still be allowed to own a firearm. If you are a pederast that hasn't been caught yet, you should still be able to own a firearm, right? Because the law hasn't caught up to you yet. So we're not going to infringe upon your Second Amendment right. Like it doesn't make any sense, dude. There's got to be, and I'm not like, I can imagine a world where there's all these cameras around, Big Brother, microchips and everybody, monitoring everyone's language. Everyone's got a smart device in their house listening for shit now, whatever, conspiracy stuff. But, you can't watch everybody all the time. You can't predict when somebody's going to break bad. You can't. So you got to do the best you can. And this is a tough one for me, guys, because this is one of those things. Now, I've been looking at a lot of, since the Colorado shooting, there's been a lot of social media kind of unrest, people talking about it. And you're seeing decent viewpoints from the right and the left kind of coming together like, all right, well, it's written into our Constitution a certain way. So maybe we just need to amend the Constitution. Maybe we need to reevaluate the Second Amendment. Nope. Yeah, I know you say no. Yeah. But I'm saying maybe we do, bro. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I hope that there's a room of smart people that can start talking about it, but
I don't ever give an inch, because if I give an inch, they take a mile. Yeah.
Go tell that to all those people's families that were just murdered in Colorado, or go tell that to all those people down in Florida that were just murdered, or go tell it to the 250,000 other people every year that are killed by murdered, suicide, whatever, by firearms.
You mean those in Colorado who, again, they have universal background checks, red flag gun confiscations, high capacity magazine bans. They have a passing grade from Giffords. What else should they have done? What else should they have done that would have stopped that? Because those other things didn't stop it. So what else could they have done differently?
Well, I mean, there's lots of loopholes. You know that, Ryan.
What do you mean? So what could they have done? What? All right, so we don't.
No, you restrict the access to firearms.
You don't think they have those restrictions to firearms?
I think that old boy in Colorado could have very easily went down to Arizona, which is a very open state when it comes to firearms.
But he didn't. He went to Colorado.
He bought it. He bought the firearms in Colorado?
I believe so. We don't know the details exactly.
I don't know either. Yeah. But, I mean, you can't – it's like in freaking Chicago, man. Chicago has the craziest gun laws in the country. Indiana has one of the most lax gun laws in the country. You go right from Chicago down to down to Indiana, right? And you can buy all the shit you want. It's like you can't have – this is one of those situations where every state's different. You know what I mean? And then even that, now you have the surge of you have all kinds of black market firearms coming in the United States as well. I mean, you can't necessarily control them all, but I'm kind of leaning toward there's got to be something better. There has to be something better, Ryan. I don't know what it is. In
tell
fact,
me what would have stopped that.
You tell me what could be done better. I mean, I know it. I know
not restricting more rights.
I know that the onus of most of anything gun control comes from the opposition. It comes from people that are asking for more gun control. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're coming
every year.
And then there's people like you that say, Oh, well, what laws were broken that this could have prevented? Oh, I'm not going to give you an inch because then you'll take a mile. And you guys just have these brick walls in front of you and you're unbudgeable.
Well, there's nothing that would have stopped that guy.
So then what needs to happen, Ryan, is everybody in your camp needs to come up with what needs to happen. And you can't just keep deflecting. You can't just keep, more freedom, give guns to everybody. Dude, you can't. It's the same old tired argument, brother.
These things aren't stopping anybody.
So what you're saying is, until we try giving guns to everybody, we can't rule that out as a possible solution.
Hey,
that's what you're saying. Just fucking give everybody a firearm, and then the world will be a safer place.
What gun control has ever worked? Tell me that. What gun control anywhere has ever worked?
It would have to be universal gun control, brother. It would have to be
worldwide.
Well, it depends. I mean, there are islands where you can't just erase all the guns from the face of the planet.
Exactly.
I know that, right? Yes. But could you do? I don't know, man.
And even if they do, I'm still going to make them in my basement.
Yeah, I mean, that's you, brother.
I don't make them now, but
that's what I'm saying.
Then.
I mean, there's an entire camp that you're a part of that isn't willing to come up with the solution. There
is no solution.
There's got to be a solution. If there's not a solution, Ryan, then it's fucking hopeless.
These other solutions didn't work.
So tell me one that would.
Tell me, you're the one selling it to me. Sell it to me.
So an argument, the absence of an argument for does not create an argument against. All right. Your inability to own the right that you keep preaching, the brick wall you're standing behind, right, doesn't give you the opportunity to just sit back on your ass and say it's everybody else's problem to solve, because I'm going to keep living by this antiquated document that was written 300 years ago because, hey, woo, Constitution, America.
It got us to being part of all right, is this not the greatest country in the world? Do you think our Second Amendment didn't get us there?
Talking in circles, brother.
I mean, seriously.
Do I think? No, I don't think our fucking Second Amendment got us where we are.
I don't want to be like every other country.
No, our Second Amendment didn't get us to where we are, brother.
You don't think it was part of
How did the United States Second Amendment make us the greatest country in the world? Our country is great because of innovators and our ability to get smarter, push the verges of technology, and inflict our will upon the rest of the world. Yeah, we've had a no-limit, westernized society.
What'd you call it? A 300-year-old antiquated document? That 300-year-old antiquated document, and part of it being the Second Amendment, that's what's getting us here. Nothing outside that. Tell me something outside that document.
You're picking like 4 lines. You're picking like 4 lines from the document and saying, well, that's part of it, so it's got to be included.
And part of it is that. Part of it is a Second Amendment.
Yeah, but a lot of that document has been rewritten. A lot of that thing, there's a reason it's called an amendment. It's the Second Amendment to the original Constitution.
Not too much of that's been taken away. Some of it's been, added to, yes, but like not too much of it. The original Constitution has been taken away or amended itself. It's been some of it's been added to it.
We're just talking in circles here, man. I mean, your camp is unwilling to come up with a viable solution to prevent more of the same. And anytime that anybody from the other side of that camp you live in starts talking about, well, maybe we try this. Nope, give them an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah,
and it's like,
they do.
It's the fucking tired argument,
The same people that say nobody's come for your guns, they want laws that allow them to come for your guns.
It's like, I tell my kid, I say, hey, make your bed. He says, why? I'm just going to get it in tonight. It's going to get messy again. It's the same fucking argument. Well, help me come up with good common sense gun control. There is no such thing.
There isn't.
Well, what if I said there was? Nope, because if you even try to touch it, you're going to take a mile. It's like this. It's talking in circles, brother.
There's no. All right. So again, let's talk about that. Let's talk about something that we. All right. So the shooting at Great Mills High School, local. We know a pretty good amount of information about it. Tell me a law that would have prevented that. That would have made sure that did not happen.
So this is where I'm unprepared, okay? For one, I don't know all the gun laws on the books.
Yeah.
All right? And 2, I don't know enough about that situation.
Okay.
If there was some way to prevent that kid from getting a firearm and going to school and shooting his ex-girlfriend and that boy and then, doing whatever the hell else, I think he took his own life, right?
Yeah, I forget whether the shot from the school resource officer, which they're trying to ban those in Maryland now, but I'm not sure if it was a shot from the school resource officer or if it was him shooting himself.
I thought the school resource officer went and hid behind a freaking brick wall or something like that.
No, he discharged his firearm.
There
Fuck
was
yeah.
some place where there was
No, that
I'm
was
confusing with something else.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Yeah,
No, the guy from Great Mill shooting, that cop was fucking spot on. Fucking, that's a fucking bad dude. Don't fuck with that guy. But dead serious. No, I'm dead serious. Like that. No, he did nothing wrong. Like that guy's a fucking hero on that shit. You're talking about the pussy from the fucking Florida.
Yeah, that's it.
Stoneman Douglas High School or whatever. The one that killed like 17. I think it was on. I want to say on like Valentine's Day or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That was like 3 or 4 years ago.
So what and again, it's the same tired argument, man. It's like, oh, what car laws would prevent drunk drivers from killing people? It's like, all right, yeah, you get a drunk guy, he gets in a car, right? You can't stop that unless you're actively monitoring it. What's going to stop a crazy person from taking his gun and killing somebody? You can't stop that unless you're actively monitoring it. Do you know how you stop the drunk from killing people with his car? You take his car away. You know how you stop the crazy person from killing people with a gun? You take their gun away, right? So you can't...
Well, they still get it on Home Depot.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to kill like 1 million people or 250,000. It's a lot harder to mass casualty a situation with a knife than it is with a gun.
Not really.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2, but how many mass shootings are there? A lot more, brother. And yeah, I could take a car. We talked about it in the other gun control law. I could take a vehicle and kill 80 people with the truck, drive them over.
Nice France.
Yeah. I mean, I could do those are possibilities, right? But what you're doing is removing factors from the equation, right? The world needs cars. The world doesn't need guns.
I would disagree.
Let me rephrase that. Okay. The world needs legally owned.
What define legally?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not good at this conversation, dude. I own firearms. I've never had to draw one on somebody outside the military, but like I own firearms and I use them for home self-defense. Right.
Did you ever have to pay a fine to the state in order to buy those?
I had to pay FFL transfer fees.
Yeah, but a fine to the state though. Did you either pay the state and get a card that has your picture and your name on it and go hand that over? Like, I paid my fine, now I can be a gun owner. You ever had to do that?
Well, you keep calling it a fine, but it's a licensing fee, right? I mean, I got to pay for a birth certificate. Is it a right to be born?
You can put lipstick on a pig. It's still fucking pig.
I mean, do you have a human right to be born? And then, oh yeah, you do, but then you need to get a birth certificate.
You don't need to get a birth certificate, but the government makes you.
You know what I'm saying?
Big government.
You know what I'm saying, man.
So I think we keep on identifying the problem as big government.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know, man. I would. You said in a previous episode that if there was a mass school shooting and your daughter was killed, you wouldn't push for more gun laws.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you could stomach yourself. I don't know how you could go home and look in the mirror and say, "Well, I'm not." So how are you going to fix that situation? Are you going to address the mental health illnesses, or are you going to, I don't know, put,
I wouldn't be like the liberals in Maryland.
More armed security in the schoolhouses. Like, I'm willing to bet, Ryan, that if you lost one of your daughters due to a school shooting, you would be much more proactive on trying to find a solution.
I'd probably be training a lot more people that week.
It wouldn't, maybe along that path, you would say, okay, there is some common sense shit that we can do when it comes to guns. Maybe. But you would certainly be looking for a solution because you wouldn't want to wish that pain on other people.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
You wouldn't be sitting across the table from me right now and saying, you tell me what the problem is. You're the person with the problem with guns. It's on you. Well, now the problem's on you. You just lost your kid. Right now, you're willing to actually engage the conversation.
I'd probably be at their school offering training to all their teachers and stuff. I'm going to be actually having that conversation here soon. So, because they're in a private school, so the teachers can be armed, the staff can be armed and stuff. So we're probably going to be talking with them because they're going to probably be at that school for another year or two. So we're probably going to be arming and helping the arm and training the arm those staff members. Not, you talked to somebody about your feelings one time a couple years ago. Well, let's fucking watch out for fucking Miss Dean over here.
I think that it's a systemic approach. I don't think that there is any one thing.
I think it's a systemic problem.
Yeah, well, it's an approach as well. You can't. I don't think that you just fix one thing. I think that there are so many different variables.
Exactly, and
in the mix.
You don't. It's not just 1 inch. It's a whole fucking mile. Serious, dude. It's not just one. Like you said, it's not just one thing. It's a whole fucking mile that we got to take.
Yeah, and maybe a society, maybe a 21st century society that is, according to Elon Musk, less than a decade away from everyone being connected with microchips, needs to start looking at that mile and be willing to take it.
I'm not.
Yeah, well,
Over the however many decades, we've only had more and more and more and more and more gun control.
you've also only had more and more
problems.
You've only also had more and more mental illnesses, and more people going unchecked. You've also had an insert.
You've also had more pills and doctors.
Yeah, you've had all this other shit. Like you've had all this other shit. You've had on a soon-to-be released episode of the free show, all of these vaccines that are going in. You've had higher cases of mentally ill. Now you're in a situation with COVID. It's like they're, mental health, addiction, alcoholism, drug overdose, spousal abuse, divorce, bankruptcy. All of these other things are happening right now too. That's ramping people up. I'm surprised that there hasn't been more people going out shooting motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I said,
notice how over the past year that's gone down a lot. Notice how that's gone down a lot. Or it's been less time.
Oh, no, trust me, brother. Like I subscribe to the pill that never let a good tragedy go to waste. Oh. And it only makes sense that there's a
job for you at CNN probably waiting for you.
Not for me. What I'm saying is that people take that opportunity.
Yeah.
Not me.
Oh, yeah. CNN jumps on the opportunity every single
I'm looking at there's mass shooting, and then the next day, within a few days, Joe Biden comes out pushing for more gun control.
Was it a few days or was it 24 hours or less?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
within
a day or two.
Fucking night.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that are listening that might even be listening right now that would say it was, like saying Hook staged. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they do this so they can push for more gun control and all this other shit, man. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel at times, Ryan, so weak and so ignorant and so insignificant because I can see all the problems. I could see all the pain and hurt and all this other tragedy and all this other shit in the freaking planet. And I just can't formulate a good enough solution to fix it. Or I don't feel like I could reach enough people and get enough people talking about it and agreeing to things and actively looking to fix it. Shit, Ryan, I've known you for almost 20 years and I can't even sit across the table from you and talk to somebody in your camp and say, how can we fix this? And if me and you, people who've been, known each other as long as we do a show together, we see each other, talk to each other daily. If we can't come to an agreement, how the hell are the rest of the other 340 million people in this country going to do it?
It ain't happening.
It's got to, bro.
Why?
It's got to, or it's. So you don't think that the world that the United States should come together and try to be better?
In what way?
Anyway.
Not on the 2A thing, no.
Anyway, whatever it takes to make us safer and still be able to own firearms, still support our Second Amendment right. Maybe or maybe not how it's written today, but still, like I said, I feel ignorant. I feel weak. I feel like I'm not significant enough. I can't even talk to you about it. You're unwilling to budge and I'm one of your buddies.
Yeah.
How the hell am I going to talk to somebody listening to this podcast episode right now and try to let them know, like, guys, it's time to start thinking, right? And I don't know, man. I don't have the answers, and I feel like a fucking dirtbag for that. I wish that I could sit here on this side of the microphone and tell you guys there is a solution, and I know exactly what it is, but I don't. And I want to say, if there were more people like you in your camp, I should say, that were willing to talk about common sense approach.
Well,
I don't fucking know what the common sense approach is.
That's a phrase too. It's always abused. Oh, common sense gun control.
Yeah.
What is fucking common sense about fucking...
Help me define that. That's what I'm saying, right? If it's common sense, I'm going to need your camp to help me define that. That's what I'm saying, Ryan. I need you, and I need people like me, not the far crazy lefts and not the far crazy rights, which sometimes I think you are kind of far crazy right when it comes to certain things. I need us, the middle, right? Just right of center to come together and start coming up with some common sense approaches to a lot of things.
Yeah.
One of those things could be, how do we stop motherfuckers from killing other motherfuckers with guns? That's it at its essence. And until people from your camp are willing to meet in the middle and start having that conversation, we're never going to get anywhere. Well, and you may be perfectly fine if we never get anywhere.
Well, the example of that shit is the NRA. The NRA's given up so much of our fucking rights that they act like they're the defenders of the Second Amendment. They're the negotiators of giving away the Second Amendment. And so many times we've given away, the NRA has given away the fucking world. Bump stocks, all that bullshit, everything. They're almost giving, they're The NRA is not what it fucking used to be. But they've given away all this fucking shit. What rights have we gotten back when it comes to 2A? How has my life become easier over the last 10 years and not harder? It hasn't. It hasn't. I'm not getting any, so why the fuck would I give any more? We've given so fucking much. We haven't gotten any. That's why I don't fucking give shit. I never want to give shit because I never get fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? That's part of it. Seriously.
I hear you. Okay.
Like, why the fuck do I gotta fucking spend $200 just to fill the paperwork out to buy a muffler for my fucking gun? The muffler ends up costing more because of regulations for my gun than the gun itself I'm putting it on. And just so people know, because some people are fucking dumb as shit, what I'm saying is a muffler, I'm talking about suppressor, sometimes called a silencer. That all it does is muffle the sound. It doesn't silence it by any means. But to put that muffler on my gun, it costs more, and it's much, much more time than it is to buy the gun itself. I had to spend $200 just in paperwork and about 10 months in waiting for that paperwork to be processed just to buy a $600, $700, $800 muffler for my $500 Glock.
Yeah, well, why do you need one? And here we go. Here's the comment. Here, I know your response.
There's many ways.
I know the response. No, okay,
No,
you
no,
can
no,
say.
I'll tell you practical reasons. I'll tell you practical
because if
ways.
I fire the firearm in my house, I could inflict ear damage, and now I'm already in a stressful
one
situation,
reason.
and now I can't pay attention. I'm not in my right mind.
That's
I can
only
protect
one.
my other kids. There's kids in the house, right?
That's one.
There's
That's
a
one.
bunch of reasons, but
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. You're coming right at me with the reasons.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, but do you really need one to defend your life? And what is
It's
this?
not just-
Do you really need a suppressor to fight tyranny?
Do we need?
Do you? Oh no! See, here you go. Here we go. Do we really need this? Do we? No, motherfucker, you can't do that.
Three people don't need like a need. Seriously,
motherfucker.
you don't need. There's not a need for freedom.
What was the Second Amendment written for? So that a well and regulated militia could defend against tyranny in the United States,
Yes.
right? How the fuck is your gun muffler going to help us do that? All right. How the fuck is your bump stock going to help us do that?
Well, tell me what,
no.
Tell me what the
You
negatives.
tell me.
Tell me what the negatives of me
see,
over the suppressor.
This is what your camp always does.
Why
Well, tell
shouldn't
me-
I?
Tell
Why
me
should
what?
I-
Tell me what? Tell me what?
Tell me why I
Motherfucker, you
shouldn't-
tell me.
Tell me why I shouldn't own a suppressor.
If you can't tell me why, like it's my kids. Oh, Dad, I need new shoes. Your shoes are perfectly fine. If you can't tell me why I need new shoes, you're not getting them.
I'm
If
not
you
asking
can't tell
for-
me why you need a gun muffler, motherfucker, you're not getting it.
I'm not talking about taxpayer-funded gun mufflers.
Ah, holy shit.
Tell me why I shouldn't. Oh, because you saw a movie one time where the guy was in the tree line and he had.
No, but that's what you're complaining about.
What?
They took this. They took our bump stocks. They took our suppressors. They took this. They took our 30-round mags. They
Yes,
took this. They took that. They took this. They took that.
You ever
Why
heard
the
of
fuck
give
did you
and
need it?
take? You ever heard of give and take? Me or the gun community and stuff, we've lost so many of our rights, but we've gotten nothing in return.
Are you still allowed to own a firearm?
Because I haven't gone to the doctors and asked for freaking any type of medication. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, man. You're so defensive about it. You know,
Yes.
you can't just come into the situation and say,
Because
okay,
if I loosen up at all, then you lose fucking everything.
let's snap the chalk line on everything that happened in the past, and let's start talking about some common sense measures for the future. All right? You're holding on to the past so
Let's
tight.
talk about me giving more and not talk about me.
All right, let's
taking
talk
it.
about let's start protecting more and start not protecting less. Right? Let's do that. How can we protect more people?
How can we protect our rights more?
How can we prevent more people from getting shot up? Right? How can we prevent more inadvertent discharges and suicides because of firearms? How can we prevent all of that shit? You know, there's a lot of questions here, bud. And that's what I'm saying. Both sides have a lot of questions. It's when you could stop being so gosh dang defensive and sit down and say, okay, you're right. You're right. Okay, I understand.
You're right. I should give up more of my rights. That's all. It's all we've ever.
You're right to your
I've only
Second
seen-
Amendment right, and every one of you in your camp holds on to that word "shall not be infringed."
Yes.
That phrase. How is owning a gun muffler, or not owning a gun muffler, infringing upon your right to hold a well and regulated militia? It's fucking not.
It's not.
How is it?
Then what is? Let's put it this way. Why? What is it? Why is it not needed?
Hold on, where's the Second Amendment at? I want to make sure I'm getting the terms right here. Where in the Second Amendment does it say that you should own a firearm for self-defense? Does it, Ryan? Yeah, I'm sure you got it
Self-defense
verbatim,
against,
doesn't
if
it?
you want to say anything, it'd be self-defense against the government.
So now you're
itself.
hypothesizing. So now you're twisting the words so they align correctly,
Get
right?
the words.
Where in the Second Amendment does it say that you could own a gun muffler or a 30-round magazine? I mean, your argument is that where does it say you can't? Where does it say I can't?
Where in
Jesus?
Right, so where in the Second Amendment does it say I can own a barrel or a trigger or anything? If you start saying, oh, it doesn't say you can have a
Here we go.
take
It's
away
the same
everything.
old argument, dude.
Where does it say you can keep bear arms, but who says you need to have ammunition?
Where does it say I can own a 22 caliber and not a 223 or 5.56? Where does it say that, Mike? Motherfucker, come on. All right, common sense. This is what I'm saying.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be fucking infringed.
Doesn't say fucking in there. It just says
Shall not be
infringed.
fucking infringed. Let's amend it. Let's amend it and put fucking in there.
You tell me where it says right to self-defense in the Second Amendment.
What do you defend yourself against?
A tyrannical government.
Fuck yeah.
And you need a gun muffler to do that.
It definitely helps.
Yeah, so would a freaking a bore sight. So would, depending on who you talk to, a laser dot, right? A freaking strobe light on the front of it to do visual disruption.
Yeah.
All kinds of shit you could strap on that boomstick to make it better to defend your right to your oppression from tyranny.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. The maybe it needs to be rewritten in such a way.
Why? I don't think it needs to. I don't think it needs to.
We're talking in circles, man. And my point...
They should, if anything, they should add more protections for us.
My point...
Because somehow it's been fucked over the years.
My point is simply that there's a lot of people getting killed with guns. I get it. There's a lot of people getting killed with spoons and knives and paper cuts and all this other shit.
Yeah.
I get it. All right? There's a lot of people getting killed by guns. Maybe we need to look at that.
I'm just being clear.
Say,
they're getting killed by guns or they're getting killed by people using firearms.
Are they getting killed by spoons? Are they getting killed by people fucking shoving spoons down their throat? Are they getting killed by knives? Are they getting killed by crazy people with knives? You know what I'm saying, Ryan. You don't got to pull the party line with me, buddy.
No, that's not party.
I've walked it with you. Okay?
I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, guns kill people." No, they fucking don't.
Obviously, Ryan.
I own more
you
guns
can't.
than...
You can't honestly think that is one of those buzz phrases that people grabbed. You can't honestly think that a majority of sane people think that guns actually kill people.
You'd be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
There's a few people that think, oh, if you drop the gun wrong, it might go off. Nobody thinks if you look at a gun wrong, it's going to kill you. Not a single fucking person on the... Maybe there's one.
You'd be surprised.
All right?
You'd be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because it doesn't exist. That's like saying the car's going to drive itself. All right? It's not going to happen. But do I say...
You'd be surprised.
Come on, man.
You'd be surprised. That's going to be the catchphrase of the day. Fucking and you should be surprised. Or you'd be surprised.
You got to give me... And here's the thing. I think we're at a stalemate here, dude. I think that we should be taking every action we can to prevent the shit that happened in Colorado and in Florida and everywhere else.
We'll do a follow-up episode.
Again.
We'll do a follow-up episode on that specifically in a couple weeks. And you hypothesize what you think that could have stopped.
No, because all you're going to say is "shall not be infringed." Give an inch, take a mile.
No,
I need my gun bumper or muffler.
Show me something that actually would stop that Colorado shooting. And hindsight's always 20/20.
What would stop that Colorado shooting is if the person with the gun didn't have one.
Again, so show me what would have prevented him from having a gun. What would have stopped him?
Dude,
from
I'm
having
not
a gun?
FBI. No. All right, I can't go and find out that information. But what I can 100% say without a doubt is that if he was not in the possession of a firearm, he would not have shot somebody. That's the common sense, right? That's not common sense. It is common sense, but that's the baseline.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start from there and work backwards.
Well, how do you get there?
How do we start there and go backwards?
How do you get there without infringing on people's rights?
I'm not keeping anybody from forming a well and regulated militia and arming themselves to rise up against tyranny by making somebody go through quality control checkpoints to ensure that they are an upstanding citizen of society and that they are entitled to own a firearm.
So what you're saying is that you only have the right once you pass the government's checks. The government who we have the right to defend against. So the government can decide they pick and choose who has access to their rights so that, maybe they'll never rise up against us. Yeah, maybe this will do it. That's why you don't trust government. I think that half the problem is you trust government way too much. I don't trust government for shit.
I don't trust government, but we should be able to.
We should, but we can't.
That's what I'm saying.
Reality is we can't and we never will be.
I don't trust the majority of government. There are some good politicians that, at the local level. Matt Morgan's a good politician. There are good people.
Me and Matt, we'll have to have him on and stuff because he's a good guy and stuff. But I've provided criticism of Matt and stuff. So,
I mean, maybe he doesn't agree with everything you agree with. Doesn't mean that he's a bad politician.
no,
All right?
he's not a
That's
bad
what I'm
person.
saying. You know, there are good people in politics. There's also a lot of bad people in politics. All right. But as a society, we should be able to trust our government. But we should also be prepared to resist a tyrannical government. And the only way to do that, and we've said it before, dude, your little pew-pew clique down in Virginia ain't going to do shit when a freaking Navy cruiser pulls up and starts shelling your ass. Your little poo-poo militia up in Montana ain't going to do shit when a Harrier flies over you and smokes your whole town. Or decides to just fly over your city and drop an EMP and shut down everything because now your little Facebook militia isn't going to be able to communicate with each other. I need a gun muffler so I could fight the aircraft carrier. Motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying
Who's
to.
on this aircraft carrier?
I'm not trying to make it. I'm not
holes.
trying to make it like a disappointing freaking situation here, where I say that there will never be a time in this society where civilians can't resist a tyrannical government, because I think that, and we've said in previous episodes, that there would be a large percentage of military men and women that would take up arms against unlawful order. Like, I understand that, but you're holding on to antiquated information, brother. You know, it's like, you know, for thousands of years, people believed every single thing that was written in the Bible. And even today, theologians and, you know, ministry officials will tell you the Bible is a framework. It's not to be interpreted literally. And a majority of Christians believe that same thing. There's still a pocket of people that are out, you know, taking it word for word. There is a majority of people that believe that the Constitution, right, is a framework for society. And then there are people that are taking it word for word. It's the same thing. There has to be some progressiveness in here. There has to be some room to adapt, to grow with society, and not stay in that backwoods. Everyone's got a musket, right? Because the government's got a musket too.
I'm about to take you down another rabbit hole. What do you think they meant by shall not be infringed? Was that only like sometimes?
I wasn't there, brother.
I mean, you weren't there. I wasn't there either. But let's talk. What do you think they meant? What do you think they intended by adding that in? Why do you think that was important? Why didn't they just fucking, you know, keep and bear arms? Why the shall not be infringed? Why the unnecessary?
I mean, it's pretty obvious why. It's pretty obvious why they put that in there.
Why is that?
So that the citizenship would at any time be able to rise up against a tyrannical government. Yeah. You know, you're taking the power away from.
Do you think that the citizens of that time and the government, do you think that our citizens of this time and the government, the comparison is equal? Do you think they were equally capable of overtaking the government? And do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think back then, as we said before, I think back then, like I said before, you're allowed to own slaves. You were allowed to marry 11-year-old girls. You were allowed to kill your wife. You were allowed to do a lot of shit back then. And shall not infringed was probably assumed for a lot of that stuff. Just because it wasn't written doesn't mean it wasn't assumed, right? And I get your argument, like, why did they choose to write those words on that amendment? Fuck if I know, brother. But again, it's an antiquated document.
So do you think we should infringe our own rights? Do you think we should ignore those words?
I need to understand what the intent was.
Do you think the intent was so that we could be infringed?
I'm not talking about the infringement part. I'm talking about the intent of the Second Amendment. The intent was the citizens' ability to form a well and regulated militia.
Yeah.
All right. That shall not be infringed. Yeah. So what is stopping you today from forming a well-regulated militia?
Do you think that I have, again...
Don't answer my question with another question. What is stopping you today from forming a militia?
Listen to this.
No.
Right? No.
Answer my question.
Do you think that...
No, don't answer my question with another question.
Do you think that the Ryan gas do you think that the Ryan gas of 1775 compared to Ryan Gass's government in 1775, do you think that he is equally capable of defending against that government as Ryan of 2021 against the U.S. government of 2021? Do you think that gap is widened? And do you think that gap should be wide, just as wide as it is, or should be wider, or should we have some more rights come back to us? Do you think that we, So you should have the right to own bazookas. Every single United States citizen should have the right to own a Claymore to own an F-18. Why not?
Come on, dude. Have some fucking common
people
sense, dude.
There are private citizens that own F-18s.
You think there's every 18-year-old kid, it also doesn't say in the Second Amendment how old you have to be to own a firearm, does it?
No.
All right. So you're telling me every little 9-year-old kid out there running around should be able to own a Claymore?
Why not?
Come on, fucking Ryan. Because he's going to hurt himself, brother. That's why not. Or because he's going to hurt somebody else.
We got to ban fireworks too.
Well, fireworks in certain states they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding like an asshole, you're making yourself sound stupid by asking me these questions. You can't, the delta between the citizen and the government back 300 years ago is obviously much different.
Yes.
There are trillions of dollars at the government's disposal. And Ryan, there are people living in the United States right now that can't scrap $50 together.
And that's a problem too. Yeah, exactly. That's a problem too.
And when a firearm, to be on the same caliber, let's just use an AR-15. There was a time where you could get an AR-15 for around $250. Back a long time ago, it was even cheaper than that. During the Obama administration, there were somewhere around $2,000. And now I think, I haven't checked recently, but you could go to like Rock River Arms and get one for like $600. The ability for your common person that's working flipping burgers at McDonald's, that's living in a freaking shanty, to raise $600 and prioritize owning an AR-15, which is a military equivalent, just without 3-round burst, to the military, the delta's too far apart, okay? But
do you should make that delta larger, keep it the same, or make it smaller? Do you how
so
much
you
do you
still
trust
haven't
your
answered.
government?
You still haven't
How much do you
answered my
trust your
question.
government?
You still haven't answered my question. What is stopping you today from forming a militia?
What is stopping me from being equal to that of the U.S. government?
Does it say equal to the U.S. government in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment?
Again, you said the intent. The intent was so that we could be able to fight against the U.S. government.
You said shall not be infringed, and I said, how does that apply to the intent? Right? We should be able to rise up a well-regulated militia against a tyrannical government.
Yes.
What's stopping you from doing that?
The capabilities have been taken away or
your
taxed.
mental capacity could stop you from doing that, right?
Based on the current
if you
legislation,
got a whole bunch of dummies out there running around, I mean, all it's going to take is a whole bunch of smart people to put you down. Doesn't matter if the size of the ammunition is different, right? There's a lot of things that could stop you from defending yourself, but there are no laws in place that I'm aware of now outside of, I mean, you could look at some of the, Rocky Ridge and different places like that where there were militias that were shot down and put down and stuff like that, especially back in the, 1800s and stuff. But nothing on the books today is stopping you from forming a militia.
Nothing's impeding that right or making it more expensive or putting more paperwork in between me and the access to be able to better be capable.
Be capable of forming a militia?
A capable militia, yes.
There is a lot of stuff that is stopping you from forming a militia that could compete with the United States government.
And that's a problem.
There is also a lot of stuff out there, consequential things that are stopping essentially every other country on this planet from being able to compete with the United States government.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? You know what I'm saying?
Because I don't care about other countries.
So, yeah, but I mean, you're out of scope, brother. Back in the day, the Native Americans could compete with the United States government with bows and arrows.
Exactly. But they lost, and that's why we won.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like you got to get with the times. Now so what you're saying is that all along, every advancement that the United States military made to protect our national interests and defend ourselves against enemies foreign and abroad, you think that every United States citizen should also have the right to own that same piece of equipment?
Do you think that we could trust our government a lot more if we had that ability?
Do you think that if Johnny from down the block, what about Che? Do you think if Che, our videographer right here, do you think that you would feel safer or less safe if Che had the atomic button, right? And if he wigged out and decided to pull the trigger and just flatten this half of the planet, you'd be all right with that?
I think I'd be more trusting of my government.
You think every night? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't even be thinking about the government. You'd be thinking about the freaking quack job down the street with the freaking nuclear arsenal. And you'd be thinking about the 8-year-old kid that's not prohibited from forming a militia in the Constitution, from accidentally sucking on his binky, falling down and sitting on the atomic button and blowing up the freaking planet. The least of your concerns would be the federal government, brother.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be thinking about the government. First of all, you should be thinking about a tyrannical government, one that is actively trying to harm you. All right. That's not the case. This is the freest, as you said, the freest country on the planet. You got a problem with the way the country runs? Be like everybody else back in 2016 and get the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? You don't like the way it is here? Get out.
So at what point if the government keeps on slipping like it is, at what point do we say, maybe we stop saying that and we say...
Well, you assume that the government's slipping. There's 80 million people in the United States that disagree with you.
You think our government is doing good or is getting better every day?
Why do you always answer my question with the question?
I'm saying you're coming from the assumption that the government is good, and that the government's doing good, the government is getting better every day. I don't believe that. I think that's where our difference is coming.
My assumption is that, again, the intent of the federal government is to ensure prosperity for its citizens at the expense of managing said citizen.
I think that if they did less management, we might prosper actually a little bit more. I think their management fees have gone through the fucking roof.
I think that if they, well, you know what? You could be right. We've said on, and this is, guys, this is like, episode 6 or whatever, the ROC exclusive, or episode 7 or something like that. We got a long way to go talking about the government, brother. It is a mess, and there is a lot of swamp and muck and pork and all this other crap in the government that could be, killed off. Not people, guys. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not asking anyone to rise up against the government. No insurrection coming from your boy over here. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of waste in the government. Tons of waste in the government, right? And you know how you fix that? Get your ass out and run for government yourself. Vote. Do your best. Have town square conversations like we're having right here. Try to be the guy on the left and come and talk to the guy on the right. Try to be the guy that's looking for more gun control and approach somebody that's unwilling to give an inch. Try to do that, guys. Have these conversations, because that's the only way it's going to change. Guys, did I mention that? You should be able to start watching the exclusive episodes on the website. Ryan's working very hard with the videographer to try to figure out a way to not only put the audio up, but also be able to put the exclusive video stuff up for just you guys. Chris Brand, I know you're listening. We understand that sometimes it's difficult to get into the webpage. We're working on it, but brother, nothing's free, and it takes money, right? Boots cost money in the military. So we're looking at maybe.
Thank you for contributing.
Yeah, thank you, brother, because you're helping us get there.
For real.
We are, very, very much.
We were just looking at buying what today? More mics?
Yeah, better microphones, better ways to ensure the quality that we're giving to you guys, the guys that have chosen to contribute to our mission here. We want to give you the best we can. And part of that is the delivery method in which you consume what we're providing. And maybe that is an app. So we're in the very beginning stages of talking to somebody about just designing an app.
Love you, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Call you tomorrow, man.
But guys, we couldn't do this without you guys. We couldn't, and girls, because there are some females that have subscribed.
Especially our newest founding member, Melissa Addis. Appreciate you and your support as well.
Absolutely. We're getting there. But it starts with you guys.
It all starts with a dream.
Starts with sharing. Guys, let everybody know that the ROC exists. Jump on the Facebook page. Chris, you're always on there, man. Like,
always.
You know what? We're going to bring you in studio one day. You just stand by, all right?
And also, for anyone that hasn't already joined, we have a new group on Facebook. It's called Right of Center, Conservative America. All right, so it's Right of Center, Conservative America. Get on Facebook and join that group. It's actually grown a lot. We've just started it. What was it? Today's Thursday. It started it 2 days ago. And we're already up to 379 members. Holy shit.
Growing quick, guys.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, if you guys are on there listening, definitely appreciate you all joining the group. If you haven't yet, go there. Again, it's Right of Center, Conservative America.
That's right. Invite your friends, guys. But what I'm trying to get at, Ryan and I, we'll sit here and we'll discuss this stuff all day long. And eventually what's going to happen, hopefully.
We're going to be blue in the face.
Well, no, hopefully one of these times, Ryan's going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of not actually providing an answer. I'm going to go home and I'm going to
answer every fucking week.
You're not giving me any goddamn answers.
I'm training people every fucking week to be safer and more effective with their firearms. I am the fucking solution.
That is likely a solution. All right. I'm not disagreeing with you, Ryan, that a potential solution to investigate is arming more citizens, giving more people the ability to own firearms and then defend themselves. What a lot of people say, and I'll just repeat the old party line here, the only thing standing between a bad guy doing harm with the gun is another good guy with the gun, right? Or however the saying is. But in the absence of that, what's the second solution? What's the third solution? And Ryan, I challenge you to go home and maybe come up with something and then come back and tell me, right? And I'll try to do something similar. But I can't answer the question, what laws would have prevented this from happening?
We're going to make more laws, and that's what the solution is. Well, what law would prevent it? And we'll talk about that on another episode. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
That's right, guys. And really what we're trying to say, though, is this kind of talk is what this country needs. It needs people not just talking about gun laws, talking about all this stuff. Guys from each side, right of center, left of center, dead nuts middle, coming together with sane minds and willing to have the conversation. I'm trying to get Ryan willing to have a conversation about gun control, but it's all.
Oh, we having a conversation. It's been like, what, an hour and a half now, man.
But guys, it starts with the conversations. That's what we're here for, is to start talking about the hard things and really getting it out there. So we encourage you guys to have those conversations as well. Please jump on the private messenger, jump on the Facebook groups, jump on the Facebook page, do your part, guys. Please, please, please help us get the message out there and grow this beast. And with that, we're out.
Deuces, stay strapped or get clapped. And don't tell your doctor you're having a bad day.